Hey baby, this is Roy. Welcome to the back of the classroom. Today we're talking about chapter 3 of 48 Laws of Power. I strongly recommend y'all get the book. It'll definitely help build the mind, give you a different perspective on how to see things, how to deal with things, especially with people, and even with yourself. You can take this book and look back at how things have played out and get a better understanding of what you did, what happened to you in the situation that you were in, and just reevaluate your process and see what you could have done differently and determine if you could have done something differently or better, or maybe it was just something that was on the other side of the fence that you might not have understood, or you just want clarity on things that can be brought to your attention that you just don't know, right? Reading is fundamental. The more information you have, the better you can understand your situation and or improve the moves you make in life. Life is a game of chess, not checkers. So, reading this chapter talks about conceal your intentions, and that reminds me of a phrase I used to hear a lot, which was loose lips sink ships. And to me, that just told me to be mindful of what I say. And the deeper I looked into it, I understood it wasn't just what you say, but the company you keep and what you're telling people that's around you, even people passing by. Anyone within an earshot of anything that you say can pick up on something that you're saying, and just for the sake of argument, those things can be used against you, right? So let's look at some of those importances to why you shouldn't be so forthcoming with information, especially when it doesn't pertain to everyone in the room, or it just might not be something they need to hear. Sports. Sports. Every team, every organization, there's a strategy. And within that strategy, someone who's paying enough attention with enough skill can exploit a weakness. So if you watch, let's take boxing for an example. A boxer has his strengths and his weaknesses. You might not be able to outbox a boxer if you try to go toe to toe with him on strength. But if you understood and paid attention to his weaknesses, you'd be able to defeat him just because you're not going to play the game of, I'm going to match my, let's say his strength is speed. I'm not going to match his speed with my speed, knowing his speed's better than mine. I might have to find out what his weakness is to beat him, which is why a lot of time boxers, they don't, their training sessions is closed. You can't record. You cannot speak on what this particular boxer's weakness is, because you'll use that against him, and next thing you know, every other fighter that comes against him is going to beat him, right? And even then, a boxer still wants to improve on his weaknesses while he polishes off his strengths. Look at football. Football, they have plays. Every play has a weakness. There's something to exploit. But the idea is to read your defense or your offense, whatever team you're on, see what they're doing and see if you can recognize the formation that they're in, and then determine what audible you have to call in the moment to defeat what it is you're going up against, your opposition. So a quick mind, a strong mind who's efficient in these processes will be able to read these things and act accordingly to win. Game of cards, poker. Poker is all chance, right? You look at two cards, depending on the type of game you're playing. There's some strategy to that as well. And if you're playing with somebody long enough, you can understand their emotional patterns when, based on the cards that's on the table and what's in their hand that no one sees, you can read their body language and could tell if they're happy with what they got, if they're not happy with what they got. And these are called tells, right? So concealing your intentions isn't just verbal, they're also physical as well, right? So even then, growing up, another phrase I used to hear was, don't let them see you sweat. Don't let people know what puts you under pressure, because they'll exploit that, and they'll keep pushing and pushing and pushing because they know they found something that's going to make you break. And once they figure out your breaking point, they know they just have to apply enough pressure to get you to break, and then they've won. They got you, you're out the game. And that's not something you ever want to give anybody who's working against you. But you also have to bear in mind, that everyone around you isn't your friend. So although you might think the people who are against you, the people that want to stay away from you, but there are people who will play you close to exploit your weaknesses and either use it against you or tell it to somebody else to use it against you to their own benefit. Too many reasons to explain, just two off the top of my head: jealousy and envy. Some people just want what you got just because you got it. Some people don't want to work hard for it. Some people want to take advantage of a situation because they feel it benefits them more than it benefits you being in that position, which still benefited them, but they just want more. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about that. You can't control people, their actions and emotions, to where you know for a fact you are safeguarded from all opposition. So you have to keep in mind, you have to consider your intentions, right? Basketball, betting, gambling. If someone wants to bet a certain team will win, first people start looking at who's on the team. What are their stats? What have they been doing? Right? And it gets even deeper. You've heard of people going into people's personal lives looking to see, oh, well, this person, you know, they had an argument with their wife last week. Think they're on the rocks. His head might not be in the game. So they'll bet on the opposing team because they know certain team members aren't up to par. Somebody could have been out drinking last week. They missed training, could have hurt themselves. Every little bit of information that can be used against you will be in order to get the upper hand. And people play to those things. And think about stocks in the stock market, right? They have insider training. Why? Because you can't divulge certain information that is supposed to be fair trade. And it's not fair if you have an inside line on something and you're just gaining money off of having that advantage over everybody else. It wouldn't be fair unless everyone had that information so everyone can act on it. But there are those things that's in place to prevent those things from happening just so that they can keep it as fair as possible. So just think how deep that is. Just on a man-to-man, person-to-person, woman-to-woman basis, right? When you was in school and you wanted to have a science project and you wanted to create something, if somebody didn't have an idea and you was boasting and bragging about what you was going to do for your science project, you could have gave somebody an idea, and you don't know how sneaky a person can be. They can take your idea and talk to somebody who they have access to and resources you don't, but because they didn't have the idea, they couldn't have done it better than you. They could do it better than you. They just couldn't have came up with an idea that was as good as yours. But now they'll take the opportunity to do it better than you because they'll find resources and people who can help them implement it better than the average person or somebody on your own skill level. So if you was only going to do a science project with 3 kids in your class and those 3 kids were the smartest kids in the class, but they're not the smartest kids in the block. They're not the smartest kids in the neighborhood. They're not the smartest kids or people in the immediate area. So if a person was to took the idea from the smart kids and the smart kids was only going to work by themselves, you've given someone an opportunity to find somebody smarter than you to improve on something that you're building from scratch with the limited resources that those 3 kids might have. And they're going to go to somebody who can have a little more resources, a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more know-how, and get the job done better. And of course, all they got to do is be involved in it and, be told what to do and how to do it. And they'll take it as if it was their own idea. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. But nobody wouldn't have known had you not said anything out loud for everybody to hear. So certain information has to be kept secret. Certain things isn't for everybody to hear. Certain things isn't for everybody to know. More recently, you hear phrases like, let your success speak for you. Don't tell nobody what you're doing. Don't tell nobody what your next step is. And I don't mean when you're driving, don't use the signal, because all too often you're in a car and you're looking at somebody that makes a turn, they never use their signal. No, that's not what we mean. We're saying if you're going to do something in life and it's not to harm anyone, you're not going to cause any issues, i.e. driving without signaling, because that causes issues. If you're going to be building something, starting a company. Keep those things to yourself because the world is based on competition. Everybody wants a bigger piece of the pie. And if you want something that somebody else wants, that's competition. And your competition will not always let themselves be known to you because they're your competition. They don't have to let you know I'm competing with you. They just have to say, "Oh yeah, that's cool. That's a cool idea." And then even in certain business companies, it's called espionage. You have people who will send spies into your organization, into your business, to try to get as much information as possible so they can have the cutting edge technology and then one up you because they see where you're at and they'll either change the direction or try to do something better than just so they can stay ahead of you and get a larger piece of the pie, whether it be more money, more subscribers, more people, more influence. That's, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it all turns down to anyway, right? The person who has a larger group, a larger following, a larger audience, that's considered, I guess some people do it for clout. You have more influence. And the more money you have behind you, you can use that money to keep your subscribers or the people that you influence more engaged into to do what it is that you're saying because you're engaging them in a sense where it's something that they want. And why give anyone who's opposing you that leverage over you? That's another thing that happens amongst people, leverage, right? What somebody has over you they can use against you. Don't give it to them. Keep things to yourself. Keep it positive, right? Smile, happy go lucky. Okay, we learned something, we keep moving. Don't let the excitement of things get you to give away too much. It's unnecessary, right? They say use things like misdirection. Misdirection is a great idea, right? I want to do something positive, but I don't have to focus or speak on exactly what I'm doing immediately in the future. So before starting this, let's say I want to start a business. I don't have to tell people what my business is. I can start a foundation. And my foundation will say, like I have the Rels Locker. Podcast was the podcast. Everybody seen this coming. I spoke about it, but I never told anybody I'm gonna open up a clothing line and all the things that I like, the designs that I see and think about, I'm gonna put on clothing and put out there for people. And then here go another jewel. The people that I interview, I'll have an idea of something that they like and I'll create an image or a design based on that person and then we'll put it out there. That's where you had me with hookah came from. Oh, I had a friend who was talking. I like you like hookah. We started talking about it, and before you know it, the design came and boom. Right. So now it's not just me and whatever I think. Now I can collaborate with friends and family and different people and go, hey, you have a voice. You want to be heard. You just don't have a platform to be heard on. So how about this? Come on my platform. We can talk, have a conversation. But in the midst of doing business, I'm going to create a design. I'm going to post it. And now you can have a design based on the things that you're interested in, things that you like. And before you know it, boom, that person could speak to a larger audience who have people that agree with the things that that person say. Before you know it, wow, that new design based on what this person was talking about, it goes. I'm a part of that. They're a part of that. And then we constantly collaborating and we're constantly building. So I'm not taking anything from anybody. I'm helping everybody get to a next step in their life. And we're the back of the classroom is about helping people see things and appreciate. Although we might have a different mindset, we're all still here. We're on the same planet, breathing the same air, eating the same food but different foods, but still food all the same for nourishment, sustenance, and to get a clearer head and to be more successful in life. And that's what we want. That's what I want for everybody. Right? So, but those things wasn't said until it was actually done. So now that it's out there in this scene and people can look at the format and go, oh wow, that's a great idea. He's not just talking to people, he's involving people in a business that they may have not have known they was capable of doing. And if that sparks an idea, that sparks an interest, that sparks the motivation for somebody to do better and be better, I'm more than happy for you. Because at the end of the day, part of living in the world that we live in, you understand you can eat but so much. There's so much you should eat anyway, which means there's more than enough for everybody. So me not coming from the point of view of I'm going to take. I want to give more than I receive. This way, regardless of how much I tell you, you really can't take anything away from me that I wasn't willing to give you already. So be mindful of your intentions when you're talking. Be mindful of what you say with your intentions. It goes back and forth. You can't always want to boast about certain things, right? We all know too many people right now getting in serious situations because they want to, show off their jewelry and, tell everybody where they're at. And you have people out there with the worst intentions who is willing to come and take whatever you have by any means necessary and not care the conditions they leave you. So now on the safety aspect, you need to be careful with what you say and how you say it. Be careful of what you show people. Be careful of what your actions and what it leads to. Because all too now people are too familiar with feeling like can't nothing happen to them. They're invincible. And trust me, nobody's invincible. Everybody can be touched. And if you're busy showing off and showing out and telling everybody where you at, you're definitely streamlining all the energy, negative and positive, but you want to be wary of the negative that's going to come towards you. And just get you to avoid all of that. You don't need it in your circle. You want to be as positive and productive and successful and eliminate as much of the negativity as possible. Is the best way I can explain it. So if you made it this far on the podcast, I appreciate you. Thank you. I promise you, reading this book, 48 Laws of Power, is a gem. It's definitely something worth reading, get an understanding. Mind you, this is just my understanding. You might read chapter 3 and have a different understanding. Reach out to me. Let's talk about it. Like, one way, they say there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to understand something, and everyone can share that information and build it. And why not have the conversation? Let's everybody level up one another and get each other to a better place. So again, I mentioned Rel's Locker. I put the link in the description. And please share, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. And anything that's purchased from Rel's Locker supports the platform. And anything that supports the platform helps me get more resources so that I can give y'all better quality, more information, more in-depth resources for myself so I can go ahead and get y'all the best information possible. I think this was a good book. We're going to go all the way and read all 48 chapters. So get the book, catch up. Hit me on social media. We could definitely have a conversation. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.